Good evening and welcome to Poems On. We are at the third episode of season 4, and our theme tonight is memory, a wide-ranging theme. Our guests, our returning guest is John Foy, and our new guest is Wendy Sloan. So welcome to you both. It's great to see you.
Thanks, Al. Thank you.
Sure. So,
Good evening, Wendy.
yeah, as I always do, I invite the new guest to read first. So, Wendy, if you'll honor us.
So that's me. I don't, yeah, thanks again, Al and John, my New York colleague, cohort, whatever. This poem doesn't require an introduction. It's called Detachment. I had a Buddhist lesson my first year in school. As punishment for a small infraction, the teacher made me move my desk to the rear corner, miscalculating my reaction. After a while, a friend of mine asked her when I'd be allowed to move it back again. When she asked me herself, came the reply. And I resolved I'd sooner rather die. and so detached. I kept to my corner chair. I sat, and I sat alone until at length I learned to turn my weakness into strength, and I grew at peace with the lone and the quiet there. My teacher's gifts are easily discerned. She taught me lessons she had never learned.
Oh, thanks. Was this truly your first year in school, like first grade, first year in school?
It was either the end of first or second because we moved from Cleveland to Columbus, Ohio. My father got called there was a recall during the Korean War and a call of, there was like a doctor's draft.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So so because people who had been in medical school and dental school didn't have to serve during the World War II. So then they called them in during the Korean War. So we moved to Columbus, which was kind of, Southern Ohio is the South. It was it was easy for me to run afoul of the rules.
Well, it seems like I asked if it was first grade because it seems like you had a mind of your own and the force to back it up, even that early. So, the other question I had about this, and because it's a sonnet with a little bit unusual wrinkle in the form because the middle quatrain has a different rhyme scheme than the first and the third. Am I right?
I must say, I do that all the time.
Well, my
I
question
don't
was,
pay attention.
yeah, okay. My question was going to be whether that was a kind of a common um, alternative that we encounter, or is that something that's native to you?
Encounter where?
Well,
Outside of me.
yes, and other poets.
Well, people take such liberties with the sonnet nowadays. They write sonnets that are, you know, not metrical, don't rhyme.
Yes.
It's a pretty small um variation actually. But yeah, I see a lot of variation.
Yeah, I don't see it as anything untoward. I'm just curious as to whether there are all kinds of people that um, skip to this particular variation, um,
Oh,
or if it's
yeah, maybe I just made it up. I mean,
yeah, could be
maybe it just
the
seemed
non sonnet.
maybe it just seemed like you know, the word where the thing was going and what word
Sure. Yeah.
used.
But Wendy, I would just say that structurally, sonically, it hangs together. And I am not a hardcore, I'm a formalist, but I'm not a hardcore formalist. And I think that this works beautifully.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I only ask because, frankly, as a member of the powwows, I go to these workshops every month, and many of them are very enamored of the various, particularly the repeating forms. And we're going to get to this with some of your poems, John. So I'm hearing a lot about variations on the sestina and variations on the villanelle. And these are mostly forms that I don't use myself. So I like a little education when I encounter something that's a little bit different, but maybe lots of people do it.
Well,
So
actually,
I would just like to stand up and say that I totally vote for Wendy's rhyming in this sonnet.
yeah,
I think it's just fine. It's
well,
beautiful and it emotionally hits the bullseye.
yeah, actually, what it does is, I mean, there are actually couplets in the middle.
yes, exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, probably that does give those lines a little more emphasis.
Well, and why not? You're going to have couplet at the end.
But I certainly didn't. I don't know that I was consciously
You didn't sit down to do it this
doing
way.
that consciously,
Yeah,
or if that's or subconsciously.
sure.
That's
Yeah.
what I can't remember. I wrote this
I mean,
a while ago.
okay.
Can't really
It's
remember.
you're not required to remember the circumstances as long as you have the product.
Yeah, my memory isn't that good.
Well, we'll see how the night goes then. I guess we can all lie in great comfort knowing that no one will catch us.
Right. But no, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie.
Right, I could make
All
it
my
up.
memories are true.
All right. Well,
I used couplets in the middle to emphasize the lines.
well, there you go. That's
But I must say, that said, I do kind of trust. I trust, and I think we all do, right? We trust poetry to do its work, right?
yes,
And it isn't all
Well
conscious.
said, Wendy.
absolutely. I mean, and I don't sit down to follow a form. I mean, I start and then it suggests itself to me, and whatever it wants to be, I let it be, and it isn't always in a form that I've used before. So yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. For me, the sonnet form works a lot in a lot of different ways, and just kind of in terms of the way one's mind works. I think that's why people have been using it for
Yeah,
many hundreds of years, So
yeah, it's one of the only type forms that I really use a lot. Um, I think I've written one villanelle, and I'm pretty old.
Come on,
So,
Ellen. You're not. Stop
oh,
that, please.
oh yes, I am. We won't get into that.
we won't get
Um,
into that.
well, all right. So
Maybe
then,
we
John,
will. I don't know.
pardon?
Yeah, I said maybe we will get into that.
Well, you never know. But since you say that you're not going to lie, John, why don't you give us your first poem and um, not lie?
Okay. Well, let me just say this, okay? A lot of people's memories are not reliable. My memories are incredibly reliable. And everything that I repeat here in any poem I read tonight is factually absolutely true. And I have only changed the names to protect the innocent and the guilty.
Especially the guilty.
Very
But
good.
everything else is true. I'll put my hand on the Bible or the Quran.
Well, I'm in no position to dispute,
All right.
so I'll take you at your word. Where are you going to begin? Which one of these is going to go first?
This is called The Haunted Mansion
Ah, yes.
for my old friend Robert Sandor. The Haunted Mansion in Long Branch, New Jersey, employed locals with hatchets and wigs to function as psychoneurotic lunatics. For us, Holy Mother of Christ, it was bad. The locals with hatchets, wearing wigs, coming at us down the dark hallways. Oh, sweet Jesus, it was bad. And it didn't help that we were tripping on acid as they came at us down the dark hallways. How bad could it really get? It didn't help that we were tripping on acid. And down you went to the floor in shock. That was how bad the good could get. To think that we had paid for this, and there you were on the floor in shock. That was certainly real enough. But this was what we liked. We paid for it. You'd said back then, I wish that I were me. Now that was real, or it was real enough. Our haunted mansion burned down years ago, and I too wish that I were me and with you again on that pier tonight. But it burned down long ago, the haunted mansion in Long Branch, New Jersey.
Oh, thanks. Well, Wendy, you and I are both grinning through this whole thing. So you found this entertaining?
It's a riot. I mean, it's very entertaining. It's very entertaining. And I don't know the obviously there's a lot of repetition in the lines in the quatrains. I don't know if that's any particular form or not.
It's a pattern.
It's a pantun. It's a pantun that I kind of started. A pantun, yes.
It is a
on acid.
So the repeated lines keep moving down as you move through the stanzas, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It is that you were tripping on acid. It's great. It's a riot.
Well, it gives you that.
But this was a real place in a real time with a real person.
Oh, no doubt.
So this is totally a memory poem pegged to the details. It has its boots on the ground. And I don't know what else I can say about it, but that we had a really great time there, and I miss my old friends. And the pier did burn down. And that's it.
Well, how old were you when you used to go to this haunted, when this happened?
When?
Yeah, how old were you? No, how old were you?
Wait, are my parents listening? No, they're dead. I forgot. I was around, I guess maybe 16, Wendy.
Wow.
Wow.
It's like an adolescent sounding.
It's a very much an adolescent sounding thing. And that's all it is. I don't know how else to explain it, but that's all.
It captures that all the things that you just said by way of summary. The feeling of being with your friend, that kind of weird sense of reality displacement, the placing the whole thing, in the past. But it doesn't just relate the event, because when you get to the last couple of stanzas, there's a commentary on how the speaker has changed in the time since those events took place, and the shift in the quote. You said back then, "I wish that I were me," and then the speaker, I'm not going to say it's you, but we're assuming that it is, in the next stanza, "I too wish that I were me and with you again." There's two different meanings of those. It's the same line, but they have two different meanings when spoken by two different people at two different times. And that's all encapsulated in the movement of the poem as you reach the end of it. So it makes, it quarries out the reality in a really vivid way, but it also makes those statements, it makes those points without hitting us over the head with them. And I want to ask you about the repeating of the lines, because the mood of the poem has got this kind of displaced. Again, the sense of reality is different. It's obviously it's abnormal, and I wonder whether you find the pantun form or any of the other repeating forms particularly good for certain subjects like this? Do you remember why you made it in this form?
I don't actually remember how I decided to do it in this form. But I had been reading Pantoums, and I'd been thinking about my memories of these events. And, it was all kind of obsessive. And sort of like the Sestina, the Pantoum is a bit obsessive.
Yes.
And it keeps going back and back and back to things that you can't forget, right? It doesn't let things go. It's like you got a fish hook in your mouth, and you just keep going back and back. The Sestina does that. The Pantoum does that.
Yeah.
And I just felt that here, the Pantoum was a lot more relaxed than the Sestina. And yeah, that was it. I loved all the repeating lines.
Yeah,
I love to talk. Yeah, I love a lot of my repeating lines here. I don't mean to blow my own horn, but
no, they're very. I mean, we paid for this. We paid for this. I love that.
Al, we paid for it. We did do that. We were tripping on acid. He fell on his back because he was so frightened.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And I had to pick him up off the floor and get him out.
It's
the exit.
There's so many great things about this poem, but as I say, that's just a kind of a. And on top of this, he's on the floor in shock, and we paid for this. I'm grateful, and the reason I asked about the Pantoum form was I agree with what you said in terms of the impact that it makes, and I was just curious whether you started out with it as a probably a good form for this idea, or if you came to it while you were in the middle or whatever. You may or may not recall, but
what I can say is simply this: they all kind of combined in the primordial soup of my imagination.
Okay, that works. Well, as is so often the case, I find myself unable to follow. As I have these guests that do these great poems, but they're all different. I have no poems about tripping in. I don't have anything even remotely like this, but I do. I am going to start with a poem about a different reality. Although it's a little different concept for a different reality. This is one of my basic training poems. I have a number of poems from my time in basic training. I was at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri in the summer of 1970, which was right after I got out of Brown. And I had joined the National Guard in the winter because of the draft lottery in December of 1969, in which I drew a very low number, and I knew I was going to be drafted as soon as I graduated. So I enlisted in the National Guard, and they put off my basic training until after commencement. So I found myself in July in the middle of Missouri, and in what was a completely different world than the Ivy League, which is where I had been lounging for the previous 4 years. They didn't let me lounge very much when I got to Missouri. So here we go. And one of the reasons why I want to start with this is that it allows me to do the voice of this character. And he had a very memorable delivery, as I think you'll see. So this is Basic Training, Fort Leonard Wood, July of 1970. All our basic DIs had a style. The ones who only barked were Johnny One Notes, but Sergeant Bowen struck us as the wise one. He picked his spots and barked for emphasis. "I'm not going to tell you," he would say. "If you go out by the main gate, north and east for 35 miles, you'll hit Rolla. But I'm not going to tell you how to do that." He was sly, and he was on our side. while other drill instructors in the cadre had hats sharp-edged and flat-brimmed, all alike. His hat had a gentle upward curve, as though it wore a smile. His face was smooth, unmarked by topical depilatories. His features broad and gentle. He would give advice to make us better men and soldiers. Mid-war as we were, we had all kinds, draftees, NGs, and AR enlistees, some with degrees and some who barely finished 7th grade. One day, he dropped his choicest pearl. "Now, ma'am," he said, "I did not go to Harvard. I did not go to Yale. I did not go to Princeton or to any of those big so-called executive establishments. But, man, I know my job. Some of these men," he said, and nodded toward us in formation, "have been to Harvard. Some have been to Yale, and some of them have been to Princeton. Yes, they've learned so much before they came to me. Some of these men, they think that they are smart. And you know, they are smart. Some of these men are so smart, they are smarter than themselves."
I don't know.
Al, no, I
You
really love
survived.
I love the ambiguity in those final lines, because yeah. I mean, what can I say? I love the ambiguity in those last lines.
Well, I did too. That's why I'm writing about it 55 odd years later.
Also, I didn't realize that you were in the services. That's wonderful, and I thank you for that.
Well, you know, it was a middle path, because in my case, I was in the Massachusetts National Guard, and the governor of Massachusetts did not volunteer his units for Vietnam. The governor of New Hampshire did.
Really?
So I could have been sent. Yeah, the New Hampshire units were chopped up pretty badly, actually, when they got there. So I could have been sent, but as it turned out, I wasn't sent. I was trained with, most of the people I was trained with went to Vietnam right after we got out of AIT.
Why? They weren't in the National Guard?
No, well, the one line in the poem about we were all kinds, draftees.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So okay, so you had the USs were people who had been drafted. The NGs were National Guard who had signed up and were going to be trained for 6 months and then could get to go home. And then you had the ARs, which were regular Army, who had enlisted. Wow. And so 85% of the guys that I was trained with got on the plane and went west. And, you know, we got on the planes and went home. So I didn't serve the way many served, but I served more than other many.
But Al, that's a point of gratitude. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't make great claims for it, but most of my friends did not serve at all, so it was an interesting experience.
Just in terms of the poem, your details as it goes from quatrain to quatrain, the detailed evocations of the military training environment are very beautifully there. They really come out.
Well, it was a vivid experience, and the details are kind of burned into my memory. So it wasn't. I wrote this probably a couple of months ago, but the memory was very clear. The one line that might not be obvious to everybody is the one about depilatories. But at the time, a lot of the black drill sergeants had used, instead of shaving, they had to use depilatories because their faces got bumps, and so they couldn't shave with a blade, or they'd cut themselves because they had these raised places on their cheeks. So they used these depilatories, which were very acid based and just ate away at their faces. But Sergeant Bone was not one of those. He had his cheeks were smooth. So that's a little detail that if you were there, you might remember, but you probably wouldn't otherwise recognize.
Well, it came through very beautifully in your poem, Al.
Well, thanks. He was a memorable character. I have other poems about other DIs who were also memorable characters, but played a different role in my education, shall we say.
Sounds ominous.
Well, no, actually, there's one about the guy that taught me how to shoot, which was great because he was teaching. We were at the range, and he was teaching us how to fire our M16s. And he said, this is all in a poem that's in my second book, but he said, what you want to do is put your nose right up against the charging lever, which is, the part of the weapon that's near your face. And people generally kind of shy away from it. But he said, no, put your nose right on it, because when you pull the trigger, the weapon and your head will both recoil. So it won't hit you. You're going to move together. And what it does is it makes the sights bigger because you're closer to the sight. So you have a better look at the near sight and the far sight. And so because I was a good boy, I did exactly as he said. And it really helped. I was like the best shot out of our group. And he went by me one day at the range, and he said, you were the only one who paid attention.
Okay. Good.
So I felt vindicated. So anyway, that's my first offering. We come round again to Wendy Sloan.
Come around to me again. And okay, this is a different kind of memory. This poem Word that I am going to read second, which is my husband Jonathan Chasen, as a lot of people know. I think John knows. He passed away in May of 24. He had he had FTD, what Bruce Willis has,
Okay.
frontal temporal degeneration. So we went through together about a decade process of his decline.
Uh-huh.
This was one stage. One stage. Okay, Word. Then came the year you kept repeating Wendy, till you had but a single greeting, Wendy. Your world reduced to just one proper noun for anyone you chanced on meeting, Wendy. Each thing you saw, each thing you touched, for every phrase you were completing, Wendy. Though I was pleased that you still knew my name alone, this soon proved self-defeating, Wendy being the only way you had of naming, being, that is, a way of cheating Wendy and everyone else to get by. All D, your sole response, incessant bleating, Wendy. And when you stopped, you'd no more names at all. Now I could shake you, plead, entreating, Wendy.
Uh,
Yeah,
is this a guzzle?
it is.
Wendy, it's a guzzle, and yes, as Al said, that's form, and it's
Yeah.
repeating, and it's obsessive, and it's beautiful in its obsession, and poignant in its uncontrollable obsession. And
Yeah.
it brings tears to my eyes every time I hear you read that poem.
Boy, it's perfect for this
I
form,
love
isn't
it
it?
so
Well, I
much.
mean, wow. For this message,
Yeah.
this must have been a conscious choice.
Yes, yes, the choice was absolutely conscious. I did think, this would be a way to deliver uh,
Mm.
what was happening at that point, and I wrote it at that point.
But
Boy,
Wendy, did Jonathan know anything about that? Did he know this poem?
No, no, he didn't. He was no longer. Uh, I mean, as you'll see from one of the other part, he did like music and singing and so on.
From your other poem, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
but not poetry complicated. That was kind of complicated. The songs like that he remembered and so on, but not like complicated new things.
Mm.
Not complicated new things
Wow.
anymore by this point. Um, yeah.
It's so strong. Um, you know, this has a very high, for me, it has a very high, uh, I'm going to use a quote from Zora Neale Hurston
Oh,
from Their Eyes Were Watching God. She has a great line where one of the characters says, "You have to go there to know there." And this has a very high quotient. You can't imagine this. You have to have lived it to bear witness to it. And there are a lot of poems that aren't as pure a display of having gone there as this is, because it's not an everyday experience. It's a very, very discrete experience, and you capture it, and it's, I mean, it has such power. Um, Even though my experience doesn't allow me to identify, but I know that it's a part of reality, that the fact that I can't identify with it is not in the least bit important. It's there and it's here. So, yeah, it's an important poem. I don't know if it gave you any um, emotional release to have written it.
yeah, I think probably so. I wrote poems during the last, say, 5 years
Wow.
of Jonathan's decline, which is when he was, well, and also because they coincided with, at the beginning of that period, pretty much the lockdown, the COVID lockdown came.
Right. Right.
Um, and at that point he had I had full-time live-in caregivers for him, had to have, so he was starting to get to the more severe part. We weren't able to go out places together and
Mm,
stuff like that
mm.
anymore. So I think they did that. That's when I did start writing poems about um, what was happening,
Yeah.
what he was
I
experiencing. But
mean, it gave you a voice and allowed you to try to put some kind of order to, to what must have seemed out of any kind of normal control.
oh yeah, very much so.
Wow.
Or
Well,
very,
so in other words, it's important. It's not just good; it's important. So I'm grateful for it, having you bring it and read it, because uh, it's coming from a place I've never been.
Yeah, John's heard more of those poems.
Yeah, but Wendy, I know, I mean, you were going through that period of Jonathan's situation and the pandemic. I mean, it couldn't have been a worst case scenario. But what you did is you took a piece of charcoal and you put it under pressure and you turned it into a diamond, and that was your poem.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
yeah, thanks, John.
Wow. Well, this is good. I'm honored that you brought this. Like I said, it's
So
important.
let's hear what's next.
Yeah, let's. John, you're in the position of having to follow this. I don't know really how. I'm glad I don't have to do it.
I know it's not going to be easy. Let me get my stuff up here on the screen. So Wendy read a what's it called, Wendy?
Puzzle.
A guzzle, right? So I wrote one too.
Yes, you do.
So I think I'll read this as well. And it is a memory poem, and the names have actually not been unchanged because I still love all of them, and they're all gone now. This is called On a Line from Keith Richards for Jane Eldridge. It's great to be here. It's great to be anywhere. Well, yes, I suppose, to be here, to be anywhere. I'm not convinced that great is quite the word. It's good to be here, probably anywhere. But who am I to say? It almost seems that I was never here or anywhere. And you, where are you now these long years? You might be somewhere, here or anywhere. Back then, when we were 8, the jungle gym, Cape Cod, it could have been here or anywhere. When I left you that summer, your blonde hair, I gave up hope of here or anywhere. I looked for you for years in cyberspace, but you're not there, not here, not anywhere. We hung like monkeys on the monkey bars and knew that here was not just anywhere. But as you might expect, after so much time, the here begins to look like anywhere. How can you hide like this from me? I would leave you. I would leave here, go anywhere. But I, John, have nothing left to say. You are not here or there or anywhere.
Wow.
It's such a great and wow, perfect use of the guzzle, and such a great poem and so moving. It's just and so much part of all of our immediate experience, because who hasn't done that, tried to find an old friend on the internet somewhere. It's really
yeah, that's rough.
it's really great. It's really beautiful. And you got your name in there. I, John.
Well, according to the Guzzle form,
Right.
Yeah.
the last line, the first line of the last couplet, the author has to put his or her name in there.
Yeah, that's a guzzle thing, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a guzzle thing.
Wow.
I think one thing that's very unfortunate is that the guzzle form in English is pronounced guzzle.
Yeah.
Because it looks so much more beautifully pronounced in English, Ghazal, gazal.
Gazal.
But it becomes guzzle. Oh man.
Yeah, it's ugly that way.
We're in like fraternity land.
Yeah.
Guzzle.
Yeah,
look, so we know this is an ancient Arabic and Persian form, and that's how it works.
Yeah. One of the things that I like, you have to come back in the second line of each of the couplets. But what I like is that in the first lines, you've got this variety, and some of the time you've got a kind of an imagistic approach that's outside of the normal grammatical flow. So, for example, when I left you that summer, your blonde hair, I gave up hope of here, of anywhere. I think we could all fill in around those words to make it a clear expression. And so we don't need them. And I like that. I like that it's a series of images that you just hit us with. I left you that summer, your blonde hair, or we hung like monkeys on the monkey bars, or the jungle gym, Cape Cod. It's a juxtaposition of a grammatical structure that's repeats, and so over and over again is almost exactly the same thing, juxtaposed with this kind of short bursts of imagery or phrases that make no attempt to be in a familiar form. I like that juxtaposition because they're so different. And you didn't have to do that. You could have made the first lines just as conventionally, grammatical or expressive as the second lines, and just made the repetition of the second line stand out. But you took a further step, and I like that. Again, this form really suits your statement, doesn't it?
Okay. Thanks, Al.
It really
says that when you're working, I think you and Wendy, all of us would appreciate this. When you're working in a really tight form like that, right? There's not time for two steps, okay? There's no time for or place for extended grammatical logic, right? Discursive logic. Discursive logic goes out the door, and you just have to jump and jump and jump and hit the notes, strike the chords.
I hear you say that, and of course it's true, but it's only true for somebody that's trying to make something extraordinary. You could be mediocre and be just as grammatical in the first lines as the second lines. It just so happens that you have a higher aim. So that's my response to that.
That's the best. Al, that's the best compliment I've had, and it's only January.
Well, very good. I'm happy to oblige, but it really strikes me. Right. So, well, okay. Again, the two of you are coming out of these ancient forms, and I can't do that. But I do have a different approach to the concept of memory, because in this next poem, it has to do with memory, but I am not the speaker. It's a character poem, and these are not my memories at all, and I've never experienced any of the things talked about in this poem. And while I have known people who, to a greater or lesser extent, have lived some of this, I didn't consult them. I just made it all up. So this is called Star Child Memory. And it's pretty self-explanatory. Star Child Memory. That was the summer I broke my leg when my sneaker lace got caught up in the spokes of my new Schwinn, and I went flying. She was making shocking pink in Malta. We didn't tell her until after she got home. By then the cast was off, and all she said was how my leg was awfully white and skinny. We knew if Dad had told her, she'd have come back home right away, career be damned. And that's just it. We needed her career. And she did too. If she'd come home, she would have been a mess, and my leg still be broken. that's just the way it was. We understood. My dad was home, so I wasn't alone. It really was the best for all concerned. Like it or not, and even they don't like it, but they're powerless to change, an artist just has different needs and rules to follow. But nowadays, when I see Shocking Pink, made in that summer 50 years ago, the scene she has with some slick kid who plays a crippled urchin on the street, the moment when her face shifts from a deep concern into a radiant grin of having helped, I say to myself, there's the smile I missed that summer. Even though I have to share it with the world, I know it's meant for me.
Wow, Al. So there we're going back to childhood memories, right?
Well, I don't know if anybody, does anyone have this memory? I have no idea. I made it all up.
Probably. I mean, yeah, I think that's a good.
I think it's pretty archetypal, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have been friends with children of film people, of film stars, right. And so it's the kind of thing that could have happened to one of them. But yeah, it's one of those peculiar poems that comes out of a kind of a moment of very, very specific illumination. And what I was trying to capture was this feeling that a person has looking at a film and being in a position to take it personally that none of the other watchers of the film can do. And so everything leads to that statement that this person makes in the last line. And so then I just had to invent everything that comes before it to make that last line mean what I wanted it to mean.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is all completely made up. And of course, there is no Shocking Pink. There is no film Shocking Pink. It wasn't made in Malta. I never broke my leg. I never even rode a bike until I was 30 years old. So.
That's interesting, though. Sometimes you get the last line. Sometimes you get the first line.
Yeah. Yeah, this was a working back. This was kind of like writing a mystery novel, where you figure out who did it, and then you have to invent the plot that covers up who did it all the way back to the beginning so that you can uncover it until you finally get to the end. It was a little like that, except it didn't take me as long as a mystery novel would have taken me.
I guess looking at this now, I think if you're going to put your finger on the wrist and feel for the pulse, what's really happening here, I mean, this is a beautiful poem. But what stood out for me was that these lines, we needed her career and she did too. I mean, that's it, right? That's the power point.
Yeah. I sneak in a line about a couple of lines.
And she did too. And so that's the thing that kind of drives the whole scenario, right?
Yeah, and then the analytical statement that artists have different needs and they have to follow different rules.
But not only artists, because a lot of people have to go away to work,
Yep.
I mean, it's less, especially people with less money,
Yes.
Father has to, during the Depression, a lot of fathers had to leave town to work. And, that's still true of,
and you couldn't casually get them to come back because there was an emergency at home.
Right. Yeah.
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 Well, but I think that's exactly the proper response on the part of a reader who's free to think of the implications of the themes of the poem and go outside of them.
Well, yeah, that's why everyone can relate to it. I mean,
yeah,
because it is something that could happen too.
And I think we can all understand that If they had told her and she had come back, it wouldn't have gone well. It's like the speaker says. I mean, my leg would still be broken. It's,
right.
What can you do? But these are big. I mean, these are serious family decisions.
Right.
So I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, I was not in a family that was in a situation like this. No decision like this had to be made. It's completely, the part of me that writes plays and generates characters that are not like me.
Yeah.
And then has them behave in ways that I understand from my own behavior and other people's behavior, but they're still not me. That's kind of where this comes from. And that's why I wanted to put it in this group of poems for tonight, because it's completely made up. The rest of these have all happened. But we don't have to worry about this character. It didn't happen. So anyway, but good. I'm glad you accept the authority of the voice. You believe the character.
Yeah, and it is the kind of thing. I mean, I wondered when I read it. I thought, "Oh, poor Al." I didn't realize that he had that kind of family. No, honestly, but it was like, it is the kind of thing that, of course, someone would remember. I mean, if you had that kind of injury in your way, So yes, it was credible. I thought it. I wondered. I thought, gee, did Al have that? Or
well, I feel good about that. That's kind of the most one can hope for, is that people don't say, "Nah, he made that up." That never happened.
I mean, John, did you know he made it up, or you suspected, or you just kind of wondered? Maybe he did, maybe he didn't, or it doesn't matter. But I just
wait, Wendy, who are you asking?
Well, with the Star Child memory.
Memory is a hard. It's very amoebic, and
Sure.
I cannot say that anyone's memory is exact. I can only speak for myself.
You say yours is.
Al did a great job with that poem.
His is exact, but I can
my memory's exact. Yeah.
I don't know. I can tell you, having practiced law for 30 years, I don't think anyone's memory is exact.
No one's memory is
I don't
exact.
think that's the way the mind works. I've had
so Wendy, talk to Al about that. I mean, that's an important link right there.
Well, I can say with fair certainty that the memory in this poem is exact, but not mine.
Well, that makes it exact. It's imaginary.
Well, that's the video.
So I don't know that I've ever done this before.
Some folks have said that the only way to really tell the truth is to tell a lie.
Yeah, well,
you can only get to the truth by telling a lie.
The lie that makes us see the truth.
In the best, most supportive sense that I completely embrace.
Yeah, that's what Picasso said. The lie that makes us see the truth.
Is that Picasso?
Yep.
Quoting?
Oh,
that's a quote of his.
Yeah. So now I'm in the doghouse, huh?
No,
no, not at all.
Aligning myself with Picasso.
No. Wait a second. There's something wrong with Picasso. I mean, there probably are things wrong with Picasso, but not to the point where we don't want.
It doesn't mean he's not allowed to quote.
Right.
We don't care.
Wendy, we'll talk offline.
We can poo-poo his behavior.
I love Picasso.
We still value what he has to say. Look, Guernica.
Yes. But John's right. This is a whole area that we're not going to get into, but that other people get into with great gusto and vitriol.
Al, that might be a theme for one of your next segments, huh?
I love Picasso too. A lot of his work, a lot of his work. I've never met the man, but a lot of his work I do like.
Well, so anyway, that's our little.
Who's up next, Wendy or me? It's
I'm
Wendy.
I'm next.
Okay.
Yes, you're next, Wendy.
And I'm going to go into a different kind of memory.
Good.
This poem, Leah Deutsch,
Oh, yes.
kind of historical memory. Leah Deutsch, 1927 to 1943. But do you remember Leah Deutsch, who lived in Zagreb in the 1930s? Who was a brilliant actress, a child star, performing Shakespeare and Moliere at the Croatian National Theater, who was called the Croatian Shirley Temple. Although she was not just Croatian, or not really Croatian, depending on point of view, having had Jewish parents, though converted, baptized Christian. Leah wore charming costumes, a Turkish satin vest with braided trim, a little drummer suit with velvet hat, the hat balanced on her straight black hair as she danced with delicate grace. A French crew came to film a documentary about her. Yet, at 14, Leah Deutsch wasn't allowed to set foot inside the Croatian National Theater anymore. Then Leah wasn't allowed to go to school anymore. The authorities had determined that she was really just one more dirty Jew. Later, a fellow actor said he would see Leah sitting motionless on a bench across from the theater, staring at it for hours. The star, now a yellow Star of David, sewn on the sleeve of her herringbone coat. The last transport from Zagreb left in May of 43. Of the 75 people crammed into that cattle car, 25 died before the train even made it to Auschwitz, on a 6-day journey without food, without water. Leah Deutsch was one of them.
Yeah, thank you.
Wendy, this is a devastating and poignant memory poem for sure.
Yeah, for me, it has a unique, like a lot of other Holocaust poems, has a unique relationship to the concept of memory because it bears witness to something whose memory is very important not to be forgotten. In other words, it isn't just something that you remember, it's something that needs to be remembered. It needs to be said so that it can be remembered. And that gives it a different quality. It gives it a built-in importance. The whole concept of bearing witness. Well, it's funny you just mentioned that you practiced law for 30 years. That's a kind of subset of the concept of bearing witness, that you will tell the truth. But what truths you tell may be of greater or lesser importance. Bearing witness in the religious term, as I understood it, is to bear witness to the important things, to the great things that must not be forgotten. And that's what's going on here. So yeah, I'm grateful for this. And it's different because of the details, because of the nature, because the character was a performer who's then banned from performing, who enjoys in the first part of the poem an identity that's taken from her and a different one imposed, a different, much lesser one imposed on her. Um, all Holocaust-related poems are not created equal. Um, but this one has a power because of what you've done with it that I particularly am grateful for.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, it doesn't dwell on the horror and the injustice. It dwells on the nature of her identity, of her gifts, of her, who she really was. And so in that sense, you're giving back the identity that's taken from her in the latter part of the poem. And again, that to me gives it a value discrete and different from its more general value in terms of the larger subject. So yeah, I just think it's wonderful. I don't know how you found all of this out. I'm assuming it's all perfectly true.
Yeah, actually.
How did you learn all this?
A book with this maybe about 10 years ago. I don't remember exactly when, maybe last. A book was written about her that was reviewed in the TLS. And I read the review and it made me interested in in her, what had happened to her, blah, etc. So I think I might have gotten the book and I read about her online and
Mm-hmm.
found out these various details.
So did you set out consciously to celebrate her identity?
Um, yeah, actually.
Because the first part of the poem really does that. I mean, the Croatian Shirley Temple.
Well,
It,
yes, of course I did. And I think the review, as I recall, I kind of felt the review was like unfair to her. Like it
okay.
made her seem, and I can't remember exactly why I felt that the review or suspected that the review was being unfair to her. Kind of had to me a kind of a tone like as if was such a privileged character or something like this. I didn't really, so I wanted to look into it more because I got curious about what was really going on.
Wow.
So yes, I did want to.
Because you've really given her, as I say, you've restored her identity in a context where every attempt was made to erase her identity.
Right, exactly what happens.
That's what I like about the poem in particular, is that she had such a discrete identity, um, and that's exposed and celebrated. Um, yeah, you know, and the action, the progressive actions of imposed injustice are treated I mean, uh, they're not glorified even to the extent of saying, look at how unjustly she was treated. It's like she was banned from being in the theater, and then she was banned from going to school. And you just make these statements. You don't qualify the injustice of them. So all of those details for me contribute to what for me makes the poem uh, stronger and a more pure thing in itself, besides the fact that it's exposing great injustice.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean,
One thing I really love is to meet a lawyer who's also a poet, because lawyers and poets are both deeply grounded in language.
And there are a lot of us, right? You've met quite a few.
Well, there's not as many as good as you are, okay? But The lawyers are good with language and logic, and the poets are good with language and dissociative logic.
Yeah, and
But
imagination.
when you can pull it all together with erudition and beauty, you hit the home run.
Yeah, that's going on here. Yeah.
I will say I did not write poetry while I was practicing law. During the years of, I don't remember how many years of my legal career, 30 years, I guess. I was not writing poetry at that time. I went back to writing poetry, which I had done previously.
But you had done it, it had been an important part of your life prior to your career.
Yeah, I was an English major.
But Wendy, as a lawyer, you're up to your neck, you're up to your elbows in your neck in language and details and logic all the time. So, I mean, that can carry over, profitably into poetry. Yes.
If you're not doing both at the same time.
I was just so busy, Yeah. I mean, I did litigation and I was just so busy, with that, I think,
Yeah, I think it's important that you had been writing poetry first, so that when you were free, you were going back to it. You weren't discovering it and trying to create a poetic voice for yourself from scratch after 30 years of tort.
That's a good point.
So it was a return for you.
It was not tort. I was in the.
Wendy can come back. Wendy always does come back.
Yeah, I was in this field called union democracy law. It's a branch of civil rights law.
Okay.
Like in a kind of branch of employment law.
I just use the word because I like the word tort.
Yeah, you like that word.
It's just a great word.
Actually, I never had anything to do with torts.
Anyway, so thank you. I mean, was this the long one out of your group?
Oh no.
Oh, that's right. You do have one that's much longer. Okay.
I have one that's much longer.
Well, anyway, so this one was great. I'm really glad that you included it, that you chose to include it.
Okay.
Well, follow that, John Foy.
All right, so here we go.
Again, I'm glad I don't have to try.
Wendy, I'm going to jump back in a way to your first poem, which was kind of a classroom poem.
Right.
And so, Wendy, this is one of my classroom poems. And again,
I love it.
My memory is infallible. Everything here is true. I've just corrected and changed the names to protect the innocent and the guilty.
Okay.
My love of poetry. I remember now, I don't know why, in fourth grade, I think it was, I called a kid a douchebag. His name was Howard Hutchinson. He ran to tell the teacher that I had called him a douchebag. I'm so sorry. The teacher, Mrs. Nathan, promptly came to talk to me in the harshest possible terms and asked me why I had called him a douchebag. Because he looks like one, I said. Although back then, I didn't know what a douchebag was. I did, though, like the sound of it. Detention was my just reward. In point of fact, he wasn't that objectionable, but the frisson of douchebag, a sonic equivalence I could not deny, was so exact, given what I saw, that I gave in, alas, to the dark allure of accuracy, and thus began my love of poetry.
That's so great.
I mean, I've never heard an Ars Poetica as great as this one, John. I mean,
I just changed the names.
It really is something else. And you know, again, you've got the most distance in the use of language. Okay, from one part of the poem where we're getting this kind of, you know, language that's used just because, without knowing what you're talking about, just because you can't resist the sound of the word. And we're getting this narrative just so plainly spoken. And then we get to the end and you get this, I gave in, alas, to the dark allure of accuracy. Well, I mean, this is using language in a different way altogether. And of course, they go together so naturally because this is a very, very deeply funny poem, isn't it?
Very deeply, very deeply funny.
It's not superficially funny. It's deeply funny.
It's profoundly funny.
Yeah. I don't really see how it could be improved.
And it's all true. It's all true.
It's all true.
Well, it might be true, but the way that you tell it, I mean, what could be more deadpan than 3 times in a row saying, I called a kid a douchebag? You say it 3 times.
Right.
And then you admit that you don't know what it means. And you say it to the teacher who's upbraiding you. And you say you use a language that a kid would use in answering an unanswerable question. Well, because he looks like one. That's like perfect, because it's wrong in exactly the way that we're wrong when we're talking as kids.
Right.
Well, I know you are, but what am I?
Right. But Al, I don't know. I mean, I do believe that you and I are of the same generation. And when we were little boys, that was the great put down, to call another kid a douchebag. And of course, nobody knew what that meant, but it sounded great. And it was a great slap down. Yeah. So you'd throw it around.
Yes.
And
well, I mean,
I'm guilty of that, and that's what this is about.
But what the poem is really about is language. And boy, it says it hits every mark in terms of characterizing the way kids use language, the way kids understand language, what they value in language, all of this. And then it keeps it all in the context at the end of, we understand by the time we get to the end that you have so many different ways of using language that are completely accurate. That's what the dark allure of accuracy is about. It's not just about the accuracy of the words that we love, like tort.
Well, that's right. That's in there too. That's
guzzle.
In there too.
Guzzle. Yeah, no, this is
guzzle toward bring him into the primordial soup.
Yeah, I mean, this is great, and just as Wendy began by commenting as an Ars Poetica, if somebody were to come, well, I couldn't do it, but you can do it because you've written the poem, and say, "You're a poet. Why? What do you see in poetry? Tell them this." This is it. It's you can't challenge this logic.
Al, thank you very much.
No, I love this. I love this. It's
going back to Wendy's classroom poem. Wendy had a classroom.
Right, it does.
So
it also,
yes.
I just had to hopscotch back 2 steps there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, once again, I must go in another direction. And this is a poem based on an incident that took place during my my years as a traveling musician. And I don't have very many poems that take place in New York, but this one does. And it took place on the morning after a performance that the band I was in, Roomful of Blues, gave at Max's Kansas City. and
Wow.
1970, 73 or 74. So here we go. And I should mention that this poem was featured at the Best American Poetry blog a year ago, before it went dark.
Oh,
Yeah, it's Alicia Stallings had a poem a couple of months after me, and I had one in January, and then sometime in the middle of the year, the server, or the place, the host for the whole thing.
Al, it was
went-
David Lehman. David Lehman called it quits.
Is that what it was?
That's what it was.
and
Well,
nobody.
anyway, they were very nice to run it, and now it's off into the ether. But I'm going to bring it back to life. Killers Before Breakfast, and I think for this one, I can make the same claim as John, that this is exactly as it happened.
Truth. I mean, truth. Facts, right? Real truth,
Facts.
real facts.
Just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts. Okay. Killers Before Breakfast, New York City, 1974. It was the morning after. On the night before, we'd played at Max's Kansas City, with Stevie Wonder sitting in the house and Johnny Winter joining later. They had come for Bobby Bland, for whom we opened, but they heard our set. The room was small, not deep, and we could see the audience. When you really get them, you can tell. For once, we weren't driving overnight, so we stayed up and crashed in the hotel. And it was early, much too early, when a few of us went out to find some breakfast. We dragged ourselves into the elevator. Duke in his fedora, rich with locks flowing long below his pork pie hat, as if Lester Young were Wild Bill Hickok. John had his wig, and I just had my hair, but motionless, eyes slitted against morning, we four leaned back like tilted packing crates against the back wall of the empty car. We crawled down a few floors, came to a stop. The doors slid open, and a woman peered in at us and blanched and paused. Then, eyes big with alarm, she stepped into our space. She stood at the side wall by the door and clutched a shopping bag, a kerchief on her head, tensely alert, fully awake. We made no remark. Our ride resumed. After 3 more floors, she broke the silence. "Please don't kill me," she said. We assured her we were just musicians who'd stayed up and hadn't slept much, and we needed coffee. This seemed to calm her down, and we descended. Before the doors could open on the lobby, solemn, plain, she spoke once more. "I have to tell the truth. You look like murderers."
I don't know. It's
Now,
hilarious.
this is a great rock and roll touring poem.
Yeah.
And about musicians doing what they do and going through the nitty gritty, what they have to do to make their music.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. It captures the spirit. And I'm wondering, like, I don't have any sense of the literary history here, but are there a lot of poems, not songs, because we know all the songs, but are there a lot of poems about the rough and tumble of musicians going on tour?
Well, I have a fair number myself.
You might be the pioneer.
Yeah, I can't speak for others. But yeah, I have a range of them, taken from our gigs and our life, our touring life. And what the life was like and memorable moments, of which this was one that obviously stood out. But other moments that stood out that happened on stage. I have one poem about a gig that we were playing in a club in Connecticut called Shaboo, which held 500 people. And we were in the middle of a set and the power went out.
Wow.
And it didn't come back on. And we...
you had to go acoustic.
We went acoustic. We continued to play. And so, our singer, this is Duke Robillard. Of course, he didn't have a microphone anymore, so he just had to sing.
Wow.
And that means that the rest of us had to scale our volume down so that we didn't drown him out. And the remarkable thing about it was that the audience calmed down and they were absolutely focused.
But Al, wait, you've written a poem about that?
Oh yeah.
That is such a beautiful thing. I'd love to read the poem.
Yeah. Well, I'll send it to you. It's yeah. Sure.
Okay.
Sure. But it was, a very, very, very memorable, and it worked out. The crowd just got really quiet and they listened really carefully.
Okay.
It was, not every band could have done that, but we were coming out of a tradition where we happened to have amplifiers for some of our instruments, but we were very close to the acoustic roots of blues. And so it wasn't that hard for us to just go back. I was in a horn section with 3 saxophones and we just played very quietly, softly, while Duke was singing. And we couldn't hear his guitar very well because it was an electric guitar and it wasn't amplified, but the piano was fine. And the bass was an upright bass and the drummer played very quietly and it all worked. So anyway, that's...
Oh, those nitty-gritty details are so beautiful. And I hope those are in the poem. And if they're not, do another one.
Yeah, no, they are. And I have a lot of other ones. I've got one about how every once in a while, if you're really tired enough, you hit what I call the stream, where you feel like you can't make a mistake. You feel like the music is playing by itself.
Right. You're in the zone. You're
in the zone. And that might last for a half hour. And one of the points made by the poem is that because it might not happen more than once a year, but when it happens, it's so different from all of the other nights. We did about 300 dates a year. We worked a lot. And it's like you'll go through all the hardships you've got to go through. Just generally speaking, we would work 12 hours a day between the driving and moving furniture. We had to move a piano to and from every gig and then tune it because clubs didn't have pianos anymore in those days. So it was a lot of hardship. But when you have a moment like that, that's just so much bigger than yourself, a really transcendent moment, you do anything just to get back to that. Sure. So yeah, I've got a poem about that too. Like as I say, I often write about what it's like to be on stage and the things that happen, and sometimes what I'm thinking about while I'm looking at the audience and they're looking at me.
Well, I think 50% of life is improv.
Yeah. Well, I've been studying it for...
50% of life is improv or what? Or is it memorized? I don't think it's memorized.
No, it's not memorized.
Somebody said 50% of life is just showing up. But of course, after you show up, then you got to improvise.
Was that Al? Wait, hang
Woody
on.
Allen. Woody Allen.
It was Woody Allen, yeah.
Yeah.
Keith Richards. That was Woody Allen, not Keith Richards, right?
Not right.
All right.
Right. So anyway, that's my contribution for this round. It was a very indelible memory, and people like it. And I got the guy, Terrence Winch, who was the editor of Best American Poetry Online. When he chose it, I said, you know, I have to do the accent of this woman, her voice. If I send you a recording of me reading the poem, will you post it on the page with the poem? He said, sure. So he did it. So anybody that, you know, that read the poem and listened heard me do the voice that you just heard me do. And it's too bad it got taken down, but it was very nice of him to go ahead and run you know me. I'm a performer. For me, the poem is like the sheet music. It's got to be brought to life. You got to hear me read it. So